Hi, this is Anand from Huntington Learning Center of Gambrills. I am the executive director here. We have been receiving a lot of questions about the college admissions process, SATs, ACTs, colleges being test optional. So several questions. So I decided to record this video so that I could share some of this information with you. Um, so this is as of July 16th. So whatever information that I am going to be sharing with you in regards to the SATs, the ACTs, the college admissions is all as of today, which is July 16th at the time of this recording. So first and foremost, I want to show you uh, what College Board is doing. So if you go to the College Board's website, if you go to the coronavirus COVID-19 updates, the next upcoming test, I'm just going to scroll down. So if you click on get all SAT updates, it's going to give you a list of all the upcoming test dates. And you will see once it loads up that the next test is on August 29th. As of right now, College Board has not cancelled any of the upcoming tests. Now, as you might already know that they did cancel the March SATs, they did cancel the May and the June SATs. So it has been a while since we had the last SAT. The next one is in August. Now they have added more test dates that they did not have previously. So as you can see on your screen, they're basically offering SAT pretty much every month starting August 29th up till December 5th. So that is what we are doing, or that is what College Board is doing in regards to the SAT. In regards to the ACT, if you visit the ACT website, the first thing that will pop up in there is this notification. Uh, there is an ACT coming up this Saturday. For students that were scheduled to take the ACT this Saturday on July 18th, and if the test got cancelled or rescheduled, you should have received an email notification directly from ACT. Now, if you did not receive that email, you can still log in. So if you sign in on the ACT portal, it will tell you whether your test is still on or whether it has been cancelled. Since we are here local in Maryland, for most of the Maryland centers, if you scroll down on this page, and I'll put all these links in bio, and if you scroll down on this page, if you sort based on the state, so if I click on the state of Maryland, you will see this is giving you a list of test centers that have been cancelled for the upcoming July 18th test. And pretty much all the centers in the state of Maryland have been cancelled. So again, if you're not sure whether your child is going to be taking this July 18th test or not, uh, do visit this website, select the state of Maryland, or if you're not from Maryland, then just select your applicable state. If you're from Virginia or any of the other states, and then you should be able to see all the centers that have been canceled. Now, if you do not see a center listed here, it means the July 18th ACT is still on for that center, the test center. If I go back to the notification, another link that you see in here is just like SAT, ACT has also announced few new test dates since they have canceled some of the previous ones. So again, if I scroll down, they are basically offering the test multiple times in the month of September and pretty much every Saturday and one Sunday in the month of October. So now registration for these opens up later in July. So the last week of July, in probably about a week's time, is when they'll start opening the registration process for these two. So again, I'll put all the links in down below, but these are the most up-to-date updates on both the SATs and the ACTs. Now, one question that we keep getting from a lot of students here at our Huntington and Gambrills, we work with almost 500 students in any year. Currently, even with COVID, we are working with almost about 150 odd kids on a one-on-one basis. out of which I would say probably about 70 to 75 of those are prepping for either the SATs or ACTs. So one of the most common questions that we get is my college test optional? What does test optional mean? How is that different from, let's say, test blind? How do I find out whether my college requires SAT, ACT scores or not? So what I have done is in this video, I have pulled up some local colleges, some four-year institutions here in the state of Maryland to see what their requirements are. I am going to go over these one by one. Again, I will put each and every link that you are seeing here down below in the description. So feel free to visit those links. That way you have direct information from the college directly. So I'm going to start, before we talk about any of the colleges, I'm just going to explain you what some of these terms are. So as you probably might have seen it in the news or heard it uh, through maybe a friend or a family member, some of the colleges have now chosen to be test optional. Now keep in mind that there are two things. There is test optional and then there is test blind. Test blind means colleges are not looking at SAT, ACT scores regardless of who the student is or what the student profile looks like. Here in the state of Maryland, currently there are not any colleges that are test blind. Yes, there are some colleges which are test optional. Now, what does test optional mean? Test optional means, as it suggests, it's optional for a student to take the test. That does not mean that a student should not take the SAT or the ACT. So I'm going to start with some of the colleges that have recently announced that they are going to be test optional. So the first one that we are going to look at is UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Uh, if I scroll down, you will see they basically have an FAQ page and it says, will UMBC be test optional for fall 2021 application cycle? And yes, the answer to that question is yes. UMBC is adopting a test optional admissions program for fall 2021. Now, as you will see here and on some of the other colleges, it's still highly recommended that a student submits the SAT or ACT scores. Now, just to put this in perspective of timeline, even if you're looking at early admissions to get a spot in one of your preferred colleges as well as to be eligible for scholarships, typically that early admissions timeline or deadline for applications is typically in the November-December timeframe. So again, going back to what I mentioned earlier about the upcoming SATs and ACT tests, even if your child has not taken a test recently or has not taken it at all, there's still some time for him or her to prepare for the SAT and ACT for the fall semester. Now, what does test optional mean? So when UMBC says that there are going to be test optional, students are not required to submit that test score. But that does not mean that they will not consider the SAT, ACT scores. Obviously, whatever you have to help your application is or to boost the application is definitely going to help you. So students that have a strong SAT or ACT score, even if it's not required, are definitely going to stand out. Now keep in mind that even if a college becomes test optional, well, yes, there might be students who might not have SAT scores or ACT scores when they're submitting their applications, but then you definitely want your application to stand out. So that's the main reason why you should still consider looking at the SAT or ACT, especially if you were, let's say, prepping for one of the earlier tests and it got canceled. So if you have already done all the hard work, you wouldn't want to just give up on that just because the college has decided to be a test optional. So take advantage of all the prep that you might have done so far and definitely consider taking one of the upcoming exams. If we look at UMD, University of Maryland College Park, they have not mentioned anything about becoming test optional. So again, as of today, it's pretty safe to say that College Park, University of Maryland, is requiring everyone to submit their SAT, ACT scores. If you're not familiar with the UMD admissions process, the undergraduate admissions process, if you visit their website, they list out the 26 factors, and SAT and ACT are still included in those 26 factors. So again, as of today, July 16th, it's pretty safe to say that if you are looking for admissions at College Park, you do need an SAT and ACT scores. Just like UMBC, even Towson recently announced that it will be test optional. But again, as I was mentioning earlier, if I scroll down on this page, it says that applicants still have the option to submit SAT, ACT scores, but can opt out of doing so if they prefer. Note that for all these schools, whether it's UMBC, whether it's Towson, the test optional is a temporary adjustment. So it's only for 2021 applicants. It does not mean that for all years going forward, they are not going to consider SAT, ACT scores. Now, one thing that I like about what Towson has done is they have created a test optional FAQ. So again, I'll put the link down below. But if you click on the test optional FAQs, again, it will tell you that this is just a temporary change. See right here, if you have taken the SAT or ACT and have 1,000 or higher or 19 or higher on the ACT, you are encouraged to submit your test scores. So again, even with the college being test optional, as I said, if you do have a strong score, the colleges would definitely encourage you to submit those scores. So again, if you have done all the prep and if you were scheduled to take one of the tests, I would strongly recommend that you consider an upcoming fall SAT or ACT, because as you can see here, they're definitely encouraging students to submit their scores if they did well, because again, the stronger your application, the higher are the chances of you getting in, the higher are the chances of you being eligible for scholarships and those type of things. Now note that for both UMBC and Towson, while they are test optional, there are no conditions. It's not like you need to have certain criteria for you to be considered as test optional. But for something like Bowie State is again test optional, just like UMBC and Towson, but there is an asterisk. For students that are applying for Bowie State, they will be considered for admissions without an SAT, ACT score. So again, they will be considered as a part of the test optional admissions process as long as their high school GPA is 3.0 or higher. It states in here that if your GPA falls between 2.75 and 2.99, you will need to submit additional things. So you will have to submit an appeal letter and 2 letters of recommendations from a teacher or a principal or your coach supporting why they should accept you without an SAT or ACT score. So again, even with the college becoming test optional, here's a case where if you do not have a strong high school GPA or at least a 3.0 on your high school GPA, this is one thing where you might want to consider taking an upcoming SAT or ACT, and especially now in summer with COVID, if a lot of these summer camps or sports are getting canceled, you might want to take advantage of this break and prepare for one of the upcoming tests. And then the last college that I have on my list is Morgan State. Morgan State, just like some of these other colleges, is again test optional. But unlike, let's say, Bowie State, they are not saying that you need to have a certain GPA. However, they are saying that test optional will be considered on a case-by-case basis. So not every student would be eligible for test optional. Now, they do have on their list, or on their website rather, they do mention a holistic review process that they'll be considering. And again, if I click on that link, while they do not specify any GPA requirements like Bowie State, you will see that they do mention a lot of the school work and the school grade criteria and those type of things. In other words, they do have some specific requirements for students that are considering to be test optional. So again, all in all, if you look at a lot of these schools, it definitely does not hurt uh, to take an upcoming SCT or ACT, because again, right now you as a student or you as a parent might not be sure of what colleges you are applying to. So you definitely want to keep all your doors open, because again, even if you end up applying to a college that is test optional, a strong SAT or ACT score will not be neglected. You'll definitely see benefits of that. Now, one thing that I always tell students, since I myself come from a college teaching background, and since I have worked closely with a lot of freshmen and sophomores in colleges for more than 8 years, one thing that I always tell students, and even here at Huntington, I always tell students is, whenever you are applying for colleges, whenever you are looking at things like scholarships and those type of things, keep in mind that you are not just looking at a one-time deal. You're basically looking at 4 years. So if you have a very strong application going in as a freshman, if you are eligible for, let's say, a $5,000 scholarship, a tuition scholarship, then as long as you maintain a certain GPA in college, you are going to keep that scholarship for all 4 years or all 5 years, depending on what type of programs you are doing. So again, you might you might not think about this, that it's not like a $5,000 scholarship. It's potentially about a $25,000 scholarships if you look at all 4 to 5 years. So again, yes, if there is some extra work required on your part, maybe for the next few weeks or maybe a couple of months, utilize this break, utilize this time that you have, so that you can take not just a short term advantage, but even a long term advantage, like a 4 year advantage on some of these things. So if you have any further questions about any of these admission processes or how the college admissions work, uh, please feel free to contact us either via phone, via email. I'll leave our contact information down below. So we here at Huntington not just help students with SAT, ACT prep, but we also provide guidance about college admissions. So if you have any questions about what you need to do for the college admissions, if your child has any questions, feel free to contact us for a free one-on-one consultation, and we'll be happy to sit down with you either in person or schedule a one-on-one Zoom consultation where we can look at what's the plan or what are the requirements and those type of things. And again, the consultation is absolutely free. So do reach out to us either via phone or email. I will leave our contact information down below in the description. Also, feel free to share this video with a friend or a family member that you might think would benefit from this information. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and thank you for your time.